Hey guys, Stefan Fischer here from All Off Road. It's finally time to walk you through my Landcruiser 105 Super Tourer build. But first, let me show you a little bit what I have driven over the past 12 months with that vehicle. So let me first get into a little bit why I purchased the Landcruiser and why I changed my touring vehicle. The Defender, as capable as it was and as nicely decked out as it was, it became too small on the back seats for my kids. They're grown up, and behind my Recaro seat there were maybe 10 centimeters of room. So that was one big factor, but the main factor really was the reliability. There was hardly one trip where I didn't have any issues, and it often took a long time to get that issues diagnosed and then sorted, and the maintenance of the Defender just was too high, to be honest. Also, I'm not a mechanic, so I really wanted a vehicle that even in remote locations, if there is a mechanic somewhere around, I can just drive the vehicle in and the people don't get scared. With the Defender, a lot of guys in the country towns wouldn't touch a Defender if you drive into a workshop there. Not a good thing, to be honest, because I think if you're a mechanic, you should be able to deal with any vehicle, but that's how it was. One thing I like to say up front, I'm not a fanboy of any brand. I'm fairly pragmatic in the approach of choosing my vehicles. For me, really, it comes all down to, does the vehicle what I want it to do? Does it do that in a reliable way? And that is really my main criteria. So if that's a Nissan, if that's a Toyota, if that's a Jeep, if that's a Landcruiser, if that's a Mercedes G-Class, I really don't care. So why did I purchase the Landcruiser 105? To be honest, if you look at old school touring vehicles, you don't really have a very big choice. There are probably 3 or 4 vehicles, which would be a Nissan Patrol with a 4.2 diesel engine, which I certainly had a close look at because I also think it's a great car. However, you can't really get it with an automatic gearbox, and the conversion alone just for the gearbox is 20k. So that was not something I really was prepared to do. Another option would have been the Toyota Landcruiser 70 series. However, in my opinion, it's not a very capable vehicle unless you make a lot of changes, which would mean do a coil conversion. Obviously, the front axle and rear axle has a different track width. The alternator is very low and a very awkward space, so a fully sealed alternator is around 2.5 grand. The entry level for that vehicle, money-wise, is much higher. And yeah, I pretty much really would have had to change the whole vehicle. So I decided against the 70 series, even though as a pure tourer, it's certainly not a bad vehicle. That left me then really with the 80 series Landcruiser, which I also like. However, it's a little bit smaller and it's getting a bit long in the teeth. So it is an older vehicle, and finding a good model, yeah, would be far more difficult. Which then would leave me with the Landcruiser 100 series. The 100 series, good vehicle and probably would do as a tourer, but one big disadvantage in my book, and that's IFS front. And I really wanted solid axle front and rear. While most people will argue, yeah, it does 90% of what a 105 does. That may be correct, but I'm not satisfied with 90%. I want 100%. These then led me to the 105 Landcruiser, which is solid axle front and rear. It had only one disadvantage. It didn't come with the 1HD FTE engine I wanted. So I thought, why not combine both? So I purchased a solid axle 105 Landcruiser petrol, and then purchased a half-cut 100 series Landcruiser with the 1HD FTE and the A750 5-speed auto, and had Jason from Total Care 4-wheel drive merge the whole thing together. So here's how the vehicle looked when I purchased it. It all started with these 2000 Landcruiser 105 petrol, which had one owner and was driven by an aircraft engineer, has never been off-road, and served as the foundation for my Landcruiser Super Tourer build. Within a bit over a year, I transformed it in what you can see here now, which in my book is probably one of the best built Landcruiser 105 Super Tourers in Australia. So now let me show you around what I have built over the past 12 months, and let's get into the details. After a bit of research, I settled for the Raslarr Engineering Barwork. They are located in Melbourne, and the bull bar is ADR approved. It is a solid bar constructed from a center 6mm winch plate, which allows for low or high mount winch, but still it does not go overboard and has a good weight to strength ratio. I have a Warn XP 9500 low mount winch in the front bar. The brush bars connect to the rock sliders to protect the side panels of the vehicle. In my opinion, a good set of rock sliders is one of the most important modifications to protect your vehicle. You should be able to jack your vehicle up on the rock sliders. I had Rob from Raslarr making me some custom rear hoops for the rear bar, and as you can see on the scratches, they already saved my bacon a few times. I wanted a reasonable slim rear bar, which gives me a good departure angle, and two carriers, one for the spare wheel and one for dual jerry cans. I'm using the Raslarr Barwork now for over a year, and I have to say I'm very happy with it. It has saved my bacon quite a few times, and yeah, has served its purpose very, very well. In regards to the lights, I haven't gone overboard. I purchased some replacement lights from eBay, to be honest. The light output is not the greatest, but it's a bit better than the originals, and I think they look a bit better. Then I have a 220 watt steady LED bar, which is wired into the high beam circuit. That is sufficient enough for technical night driving. I also have rock lights under each corner and one under the vehicle. I purchased the vehicle with a petrol engine and 4-speed auto, but I knew right away that I wanted a 1HD FTE and a 5-speed auto. The whole engine conversion with all the little tricks are done by Jason from Total Care, who has done over 100 conversions so far and has that pretty much nailed down. I've purchased a half cut with 180,000 kilometers on the clock, and also put a heavy duty Nomad valve body in. As part of the conversion, Jason puts in a bigger intercooler, a bigger transmission cooler. I have two viscous fans to aid the aircon. In my opinion, the 1HD FTE engine is the best diesel engine Toyota ever made, and I'm pretty happy with it as it is. My stock alternator unfortunately isn't up to the task, with only a maximum of 60 amp idle output and 80 amp output at full speed. Having the DC to DC charger, which alone takes 40 amps, two fans for the air conditioning, the air condition, lights and so on, I opted for an SBC 270 XP, which has 200 amps at idle and up to 270 amps driving. It also has a larger housing but still retains OEM fitting, and it has a CNC 6061 T6 aluminium pulley. And very important, all internal components are Denso. I recently also changed my torque converter to a Slinky high stall torque converter. The stall is increased by around 700 RPM from 1800 RPM to 2500. For off-road driving it means a more linear feel to the accelerator pedal and to drive over obstacles. The front diff housing is braced with a hard case diff guard and gusseted radius arm brackets. The drag link is a superior ComSpec solid drag link. You can also see a heavy-duty adjustable SuperPro panhead rod, as well as a heavy-duty SuperPro sway bar. Most of the bushes are replaced with SuperPro bushes. The front radius arms are Butt's heavy-duty custom radius arms, which suit the 3-inch lift. I recently changed my lockers. I got rid of my Harrow Eaton E-lockers and put in TJM Pro locker, which is an air-operated locker. There's a separate video about that, the link is in here. The gearbox and diff breathers are rerouted and are high up in the engine bay. In the rear I have a heavy-duty SuperPro rear sway bar. You can also see the adjustable heavy-duty rear panhead rod, which is also from SuperPro. I replaced my lower control arms with Slinky heavy-duty arms. I recently changed my whole suspension setup from front Beilstein and rear raw to a Slinky long travel stage 4 kit. It uses Icon 2.5-inch remote reservoir shocks, which are fully adjustable. The shocks have custom flatter valving and also a built-in hydraulic bump zone. The springs who come with the kit are custom wound and are suited for that heavy weight which I'm carrying. The custom springs are fully retained and even under full droop provide downwards pressure to the wheel. As this is my touring vehicle, we install limiting straps in the rear to just prevent any bind, as I'm not chasing every little inch. It's not a cheap setup, but something I definitely do not regret. It's so worth it. I came across a mod which PJ's Off-Road did, which upgrades the rear axle to 300M axles, and it also splines the drive flanges to the hubs. This was also one criteria to receive my 4.2 ton GVM upgrade. I let Nick from Solve Off-Road explain the benefits in a bit more detail.
And that's what you're really gaining here. That spline, that internal spline in here and that spline there, once they lock in together it removes the load from the studs. So you're no longer driving through your axle, into your drive flange, into your stud. Yep. To rotate your wheel and your hub, takes that load off and puts it through the spline.
Beautiful.
Just means that drive flange, it's using everything. You know what I mean? It's adding another part to the system, but that part is a lot stronger than a set of studs, basically. So
I had the brakes upgraded with different rotors and brake pads and extended braided brake lines done to accommodate the lift. In addition to my main 90-liter diesel tank, I have a Long Ranger auxiliary tank, which has 120-liter fuel capacity and 55-liter water capacity. This gives me 220 liters of diesel in total and a highway range of around 1400 kilometers. The 55 liters of water last me pretty much at least 2.5 weeks. I certainly also have water in the vehicle, but that is pretty much my base water supply. I'm running King 16x8 Terra rims with a -25 offset. My tires are 35-inch Nitto Trail Grapplers mud terrain tires. I found them to perform best in all situations, and the added strength in sidewall just gives me peace of mind, as I mostly only carry one spare wheel. I have a fully sealed raised air intake, mainly to feed clean air into the engine, but also for deeper water crossings. The two windows in the rear cargo area were replaced with two EmuWing Gull wing windows, which really makes access to the rear so much easier, and the wings also house several LED lights. I have two awnings, a cheap Moremi from Bundutec on one side for quick overnights, and a Foxwing awning on the other side if I stay a bit longer or need more roof space. On the roof I have a Pioneer platform Rhino rack, which in hindsight I probably would not purchase again. It is light and I like the look, but even without any stuff on, it generates quite a bit of wind noise. On my last Simpson crossing I recorded a short bit about my drawer system, so let's have a look at that. Hey guys, I thought I'd give you a quick overview of my ORS redrawer system, how I have that set up. 3 drawers, top drawer food, middle drawer is all my kitchen equipment, bottom drawer is tools. Fridge with the ORS slide out. Yeah, I've got the Bushman fridge. Then another 12 volt outlet, cigarette lighter, as well as USB. In both of the side wings, at the bottom I have stuff I usually don't use that often, emergency sleeping gear, some emergency clothes and so on. On top of that, this box is fuel and 2 spray pumps to do the dishes. 1 spray pump with water, 1 spray pump with dishwashing detergent solution. The drawer system has a small table built in, which is sufficient for me if I do solo travel. On top of that then I have still good space for boxes. These boxes here from Bunnings I have for 4 years. The big size are also fit in there, so very handy. So yeah, that setup really works very well for me, I have to say. Pretty happy with that. I recently also installed this Tailgate Storage modification. Not sure would I do it again, to be honest. It is reasonably heavy, but it is handy to have to store some light gear. Around 2 months ago I decided to switch my auxiliary battery system to LivePO4. After a lot of research I settled for the Revolution Power setup, as they have spent 6 years for the research and development for the LivePO4 lithium system. And it's designed to work together with a Redarc BCDC charger. As no battery or BCDC charger for that matter likes the heat in the engine bay, the charger and the battery was moved into the ORS storage box behind the rear seats. The box also houses my TJM air compressor for the locker and my dual ARB air compressor to airing up. I have a fan and several air intake holes mounted on the box. The fan will be activated when the compressor runs. Above the box on the cargo barrier I have mounted the Victron BMW 712 smart monitor. Some of the LiPo batteries have a Bluetooth functionality built in. I opted deliberately for one without, as you then can't parallel them. The Bluetooth functionality on iPhone app is from Victron and is excellent. Absolutely pain-free, well designed, and it always works. I'll let Joe from JS Auto Electrics give us a quick rundown of the fuse setup.
Okay. Alright, so I've got two MIDI fuse blocks here.
Yep.
The one on the right's the actual BC-DC output fuse.
Yeah.
The one on the left is the solar input. So if you have a short, obviously that's protected. And then on this side I've got another two 80 amp MIDI fuses. They're the supplies to your front and rear fuse boxes. Okay, so if there's a short between here and the rear or here in the front, that should blow.
Okay. So the driver's side rear has two storage compartments. At the top compartment I have my projector 600 watt inverter, and at the bottom I have the fuse panel for the rear. Behind the single rear seat I have access to the dual ARB air compressor with a computer fan in, as well as to the TJM Pro Locker compressor. The switch is hidden on the side there, and I just opened the Gull wing to connect the hose to air up. To air down and air up I usually carry a bit of luxury. My Drifta in deflate I mainly use to deflate, because I can deflate two tires at the same time. It's very convenient. I don't need to knee next to it. For tire inflation, I usually use the Jamec PEM Auto 1000, simply for the fact that it has an auto cutoff and I clip it on and set and forget. It will automatically stop when I reach my desired PSI. I have videos for both of them and you can find them on my channel if that interests you. I have an Alpine system with off-road maps. I also have an ARB roof console and two UHF radios, which comes in very handy for group travel and in case of failure. Next to the seat I also have a CelFi Go 3 and 4G booster, which boosts the mobile phone signal in areas with weak connection. On the A-pillar I have two Redarc Gauges. One is EGT, boost and transmission temperature. The second one is a dual battery gauge, which also gives me the amperage input into the auxiliary battery. My driver's seat has been replaced with a Recaro orthopedic seat. Quite important for that long drives. It makes a huge difference for my back. I needed to get a custom seat bracket done, as importer for Recaro doesn't sell seat brackets, which is ridiculous. As the plastic of my steering wheel became a little bit loose, I also replaced the steering wheel with an aftermarket steering wheel. I have three RAM mounts, two on the windscreen and one on the middle console. The middle console one houses my iPhone. One of the windscreen mounts houses the iPad, which I use for mapping. And the third one houses a Spot 3 tracker. I have a storage net on each side of the cargo barrier. I have another one fixed on top of the rear seats. These houses my light sleeping gear, for example my sleeping bags, as well as jackets. One thing we haven't talked about is engine modifications. Recently I put a Safari Amex ECU in my Landcruiser. However, within 2 weeks I need to rebuild the gearbox. After my gearbox rebuild, on the drive back home from Wyong to Sydney, the gearbox failed again. Pretty much went into limp mode and restricted all my gears to third gear. I pulled over, and the only other thing I could really think about was the Safari Amex. So I disabled the Amex ECU and since have done 6,000 kilometers without an issue. I can't give you any firm conclusion what caused the issue. The only thing I can tell you is Safari Amex in, gearbox failed within 2 weeks and very little driving. Gearbox was rebuilt, within half an hour of driving, gearbox failed again. Safari Amex disabled. No further issues for 6,000 kilometers so far. So you can make up your own mind what caused it. So which trips have I done with the Landcruiser so far? I've been twice to Fraser Island. I've done a trip through the Queensland hinterland, New South Wales hinterland. I've been to Tasmania. I have done double Simpson crossing, once via the Madigan, and on the way back pretty much cross country. So I've done a Victorian high country trip in it. So I've done really a fair few trips within a reasonable short amount of time, only 1 year. And I've driven it now 40,000 kilometers, and pretty much all of it somewhere on trips. So how do I like it? To be honest, I love it. I haven't had really any issue on all of my trips. I had one seized handbrake after driving through salt water, then to Pebbly Beach, putting the handbrake on and having the car stand for 3 days. But I mean, that was just really moving the car a little bit forward, backwards, and that was it. Otherwise, I haven't had any technical issue. And as much as I love the Defender, which I had before and did 70,000 Ks with, pretty much every trip nearly I had something going wrong, and often it took a long time to troubleshoot. It took a much higher maintenance. With the Cruiser so far, obviously it is very modified, but only standard maintenance really, you know, changing the oils, greasing the drive shafts, checking all the standard stuff. That's pretty much it. So from the reliability point of view, I'm super happy. I also like, because I'm not a mechanic, I mean, I know my way around if I have to a little bit, but I'm definitely not a mechanic. That's not my strength. And it is very nice to know that with the Landcruiser now, it doesn't matter where I am, I don't have any difficulties finding a workshop who is happy to work on the vehicle. As a touring vehicle, it is very comfortable. It is as capable as my Defender was, if not more capable, in my opinion. The auto gearbox is great. So yeah, really, I cannot fault it. I needed to change, obviously, my packing and my setup a little bit. The room in the vehicles, I reckon, is similar, but the Defender was set up a little bit different. So it took me a little while to get that sorted. Now I'm super happy. I don't look back. Oftentimes I get asked what are the 3 best mods I made, and a bit difficult because I have so many, but if I have to narrow it down, my #1 pick would be the engine conversion done by Jason from Total Care. That all went super pain-free, took around 2.5 months, no teething issues. Yeah, it just works beautiful. #2 pick, I'd say, is my Slinky long travel suspension. That suspension really transformed the vehicle, that is for sure. I always had good suspension, you know, Bilstein, Koni and so on, but I never had a top shelf suspension. And the Slinky long travel with the 2.5-inch shocks with the remote reservoir and fully adjustable, 10-point adjustable, are just absolutely beautiful. So definitely that's my second pick. #3 would be my Revolution Redarc Auxiliary Live PO4 battery setup. That really made life so much easier for me. It means I can keep all my gear charged, I can charge my drones, all my camera equipment, and don't have to worry whether I still have enough juice the next day. It also means that recharging the system now is fairly easy. If I do not intend to drive for a day and it's overcast, I don't have enough sun for my fixed mounted solar panel and my Redarc 150 watt solar blanket, I can just crank the car over and let the car idle for half an hour. With a BC to DC charger and my high output alternator, I pretty much gonna put in 40 amp hours in an hour. So half an hour of idling gives me 20 amp hours. Yeah, that definitely I'd say is pick number 3. Is there still something to do? To be honest, it's, I hate to say it, but I'm nearly there really with that vehicle. There's very little things I could improve in my book. One thing I'm doing, and I just ordered them from for overland.com.au, is re-gearing my diffs, so 4.88 crown wheel and pinions. I hadn't done that before because I was told I probably would be alright with the auto, and I am, but it just, yeah, makes it a bit easier on the auto transmission in sand and so on. So I've ordered them, they're gonna go in the vehicle. And the only other thing, I mean, I built the vehicle from the beginning with weight in mind. I wanted to keep it as light as possible. Obviously for a remote tourer, that's not really easy in any case. One other change I'm constantly contemplating is if I change my rear drawer system. I really love the ORS system, which I currently have, and it works brilliant for me. But weight-wise, it is on par with pretty much most drawer systems, or slightly lighter, for example, than a fully wooden one. However, it's still around 120 kilogram with my rear storage box and so on. So to save a bit weight, I'm thinking whether I redo that. I saw that ORS has now an aluminium drawer system which saves 30% of the weight. But I'm also contemplating a custom system which really relies only on 2 drawers and the rest is more boxes. We will see. That is something I'm contemplating, but not really necessary. And last but not least, I would like to thank everyone involved in that build. Yeah, there are quite a few companies who went well above and beyond to help me out and provide me with assistance and gear. And there are also a lot of individuals who have a lot of experience with the Landcruisers who shared their knowledge with me. And I really have to say that is greatly appreciated. It wouldn't have been possible without you guys. So thank you very much. Like all of my vehicles, the Landcruiser is fully engineered, including a 4.2-ton GVM upgrade. Have I missed something? Is there any must-have item I haven't got in my build? Please leave me a comment in the comment section and let me know. If you found any value in my video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. It would be greatly appreciated.